things are not slowing down here in the county.
No, things move at a rapid pace around here. Right now, we are getting ready for the first reading on a road fee, which could possibly be on the agenda next Tuesday. So that would be the first step in a long process. I believe we've either had 8 or 9 public meetings all across the county, from Belton Honeypath High School to Pendleton, Zion Fire Department, all over the county.
I've never seen this many town halls about an issue.
Well, the thing is that council's trying to get input and feedback from the people in Anderson County on what they want, and also explain to them that the county has 1,550 miles of road, and it's very hard to maintain that many miles of road, and maybe you need a fee that will go exclusively to paving roads and nothing else, absolutely nothing else. We've been on the road for the past month and a half, and so you've got that coming up.
And I've heard councilmen, I think, have been a little surprised that there's some support out there for this, more than they would have expected.
I think council's been pleasantly surprised that a lot of people understand the need, and a lot of people understand the fact that if you do a mill, well, the county gets about 30% of that mill. And so they're just trying to do something that's not burdensome. And one of the ideas is still to exempt anybody over 64 and or handicapped. But it's still being formulated in their minds as to how they want to approach this. But I think a lot of awareness was given to people in these areas, and a lot of people came out, and a whole lot of smart people in Anderson County, and a whole lot of people who see the need to do something with the roads. But at the same time, if you look around, the penny sales tax that the state passed, we're beginning to see the results of that. I mean, all over the county. And so that's coming to fruition, and that's only going to ramp up. And the Anderson County Transportation Commission put out a contract recently to improve more roads, 7 in the town of Williamston alone. And so that's going to be good. The county, as we talked earlier, has just released a $2.2 million road contract. So we have that going on.
You can really see it too.
Oh, yes.
All that you're talking about there, from the county to the state to everything, you can really see that paving, how much difference in the last year and a half. So.
Yeah. And then, and I've said this before, and I hate to repeat myself, but then people say, well, I don't see anything being paved. And I'm sitting, well, maybe you didn't go outside. Because if you went north, south, east, or west, they're paving somewhere all the time. So that's good. So we're getting that done. And economic development continues to go. We have several new things on the agenda to create more jobs for Anderson County. We have some really exciting ones that we're still working on. And it's always the case, commercial and residential follow the creation of new jobs. And so you're getting a lot of new restaurants and stores moving into Anderson. I mean, you know, Popeyes is coming, and people over the moon about Popeyes, which is interesting because we had Popeyes here a long time ago before Popeyes was cool. And so now it's coming back, so that's going to be a good thing. It's just a whole lot of activity all around the county. School's back in. We opened up the new high school, technical high school. I think that's a great thing for Anderson County, and that's already beginning to bear fruit. We were selling it before it was built. This is what Anderson County school districts 3, 4, and 5 are doing. You need to know this is what we're doing to continue that pipeline to get people into these companies and to prepare them for these companies.
And economic development is a big part. That was one of the questions I had. Arthrex continues to grow, and with the Tri-County Tech building right across the street there, and the new housing announcement, seems sort of aimed at facilitating that growth. How important is the cooperative effort from all these elements for you guys to do the economic development?
The only way economic development works and works well is when everybody's on board. We have done several projects with the city. We'll probably do several more with the city of Anderson. We've done some with the town of Pendleton. We're actively involved. We had meetings yesterday on economic development projects in Piedmont, South Carolina, and Pelzer, South Carolina, because I really expect our river towns to really blow up. And there's a lot of interest for some very quality developers over there to come in and really change the face of that whole river thing, something Anderson County has been trying to do for 10 years with the Blue Trail, and make people aware that, hey, there's the Saluda River. And most places don't have a river, but we do. And we actually have handicapped accessibility to that river. So after 10 years, I think it's really caught on fire in the last 12 months. And I think in 3 years, you won't recognize Piedmont or Pelzer or West Pelzer or those areas over there. I just don't think that you will recognize them. A lot of the stuff that is not pleasant looking is going to be transformed. But I'm not talking about gentrification. I'm talking about development, quality development, and places for people to live that are going to be very, very nice. And sometimes when we sit here in Anderson, you know, people say, well, this is Anderson. Well, I can assure you that the people in Pelzer, West Pelzer, Williamston, Iva, Honeypath, Belton, they're Anderson County too. As you know, we're fixing to put a kayak launch in cooperation with the city of Belton down there on the Saluda River. Just so many projects that the county's involved in, either leading the way or assisting or helping other people imagine their visions.
And we acquired some land over there too, right?
In
the county near the Blue River. I mean,
we're looking for some sites over there,
right,
for some places to have kayaks and maybe a park
right
on that river, and so we're actively involved in that. I was working on that this morning, so we're doing that. Councilman Davis is a big proponent of all things Saluda River on the Anderson County side, as he said in a meeting yesterday. He said, I'm all for this, and it's great that we're doing it on the other side, but we're going to do both sides at the same time. So that's going well. We, as you know, our reentry program that Casey Collins with Anderson County's running, where we actually, when prisoners get out, help them get a job, put them in a halfway house. We just had an anonymous donation given to us through the United Way for 5 new bicycles. Because you get out of prison, you might not have a driver's license, and you might not have a way to go to the grocery store. We had 1 bicycle, and the fellow was going to work every day and doing well. As a matter of fact, he got a promotion. And on the only bicycle that we had, somebody ran into him. He still managed to ride his bicycle to work and didn't miss a second. But thanks to this anonymous donation, we have 5 new bicycles that we can let these recently released former offenders use to get back and forth to work. And I'm not talking about these are bad jobs. They're working in manufacturing companies. Because if you show up and you're willing to work and you're willing to get trained, there's plenty of opportunity out there.
Yeah, unemployment in this county is lowest it's been consistently in a long time.
A long time. It's a long, good run, and I don't see any signs of it slowing down. We've still got a lot of sewer projects that we're doing. We've got a lot of development hinging on a lot of sewer projects. Council's already authorized the money. We're going through the engineering, and so we're working through that process right there. But we have people literally waiting to build things when we get that done. If anybody has a chance, if you turn off at 81 and go look at the new TTI facility down there, I think you will be absolutely amazed. And if you will look at that little building there, that's where TTI/Ryobi is going to have their store. You know, in the past they had once a year tool sale. This way you'll be able to go buy those tools every day. And we're expecting, and we're not expecting, we know that there are going to be additional hotels at 81 and 85 and additional restaurants. There are people already out there looking and putting stakes in the ground and working to do that. So we've got that going on. The building houses as fast as humanly possible in Anderson County. We're working with a group who wants to put an apartment complex in town of Pendleton. We're doing that jointly with Pendleton at their request. And it's not student housing, it will be housing for families. When we met with the person who owns the land, he came to see me in Burris one day and he said, what's that going up there in Sandy Springs? And we told him, he said, well, you know, I was fixing to sell that land, but I'm not now. I'm going to go up there and do something, and he is. And we're going through the permitting process on that. So we've got that going on.
Let's talk Green Pine. Stage 2's been done now?
Stage 2, we went over there, put a lot of dynamite in the walls and blew it up. And as Miss Wilson said one time, you know, you should expect rock when you're right across from the granite capital of the world. And so we've hit a lot of rock, but we knew we allowed for rock. But yesterday we hit some blue granite. It's absolutely beautiful. We're not going to blow that up. We're going to incorporate that into the design. So Green Pond's going good. We got a lot of fishing tournaments coming up, transforming the way Green Pond looks. We've also been doing a whole lot of work down at Broadway Lake, and we've got a whole lot more work to do at Broadway Lake. But we're really working hard in that area down there. They have that new restaurant down there at the golf course, and it's just blowing up, and we think that's absolutely wonderful. So you've got that going on.
Is the county still looking for land for a new industrial park? Or?
Right now, we are not looking for land for a new industrial park right now because Everything's getting purchased and bought, and we don't have to do it. It was always meant to be something to prime the pump. Well, the pump's primed. And we're also looking for expansions in our existing industries, which is always wonderful. Take care of those who are here with you. So we know we've got some expansions coming up in that area.
And County Council approved the sign for 85, the south entrance. When will that construction begin?
Well, we've got all the permits and we have all the money, so that sign might be up in about 5 weeks. And it's going to catch everybody coming from Atlanta south.
There are a lot of great, on the other sign gets a lot of great comments.
People love that sign, and the people who love that sign are people who live here in Anderson County who love that sign. So if they love it so much coming from the Greenville side, they're going to love it even more from Atlanta, because we just want people to think as soon as you leave Georgia, you're in Anderson County.
And Anderson County voter registration has created 6 new accessible voting precincts, and council's been evaluating the parks, and the county just recently named a compliance officer. How important are these accessibility issues in planning for the future and evaluating our current programs and facilities?
Everything Anderson County does will be built to ADA specifications. Some of them that we built that we thought were at ADA compliant, we found issues because we've gone back and looked. And so we're having to do a little retrofitting on some of those. So we're being very careful that we make everything ADA compliant. We think that's important. We don't want to do it any otherwise, because nobody knows when one day, you might be saying, I think that's a stupid waste of money. Something happens to you and you go, boy, I sure am glad that I can get around now. So
I heard somebody say that you complain about there being too many handicap parking spaces until you need one.
Yeah, until you need one, then they're not enough. So anyway.
But the accessibility thing kind of runs throughout the whole program. That's why you named a compliance officer.
Yes, somebody in-house whose job it is to do that, and that's Miss Celia Boyd, and she's doing a fantastic job along with her other responsibilities. But fixing to let out a contract to do some work right near Kid Venture. We're working towards getting a bathroom out at Kid Venture. We've done some sprucing up work out there. We've got a lot more to do. We have a lot more to do every place that we have and every place we own. We're working right now with several different groups. We have a fireman's memorial out at the Civic Center. It's right beside the duck pond, and the ducks love it. And we have to clean it
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. And we have to clean it almost every day. I've never understood why it was there, because it just doesn't seem like it's in a high-profile place. So we're going to put a new fireman's memorial right in front of the new courthouse, and it's going to be outstanding. And the city's on board with that idea, and a lot of the firemen are on board with that idea. We've already run it through the chiefs to see if they like it, and I think it's going to be really, really nice. And so we've got that coming. I'd like for that to be up before Christmas, if we could. That's real ambitious, but I think it would be nice. The police memorial's over there, and I think the fireman's memorial needs to be over there.
We visit this pretty much every month, but where are we on the downtown square property, and how soon can we expect some sort of official announcement?
We're still working on that property. We've seen some things, some preliminary things that we don't exactly like, and we've seen some things we like a lot. So we're still muddling through with it. It's not moving as fast as it could, and it could move a lot faster, but again, and people are tired of me saying this, council doesn't want to make a 150-year mistake. And we're not going to do it. And it's either going to be done right and it's going to be good for all of Anderson County, or we'll plant grass. It has to be almost literally perfect in order for this to do. But we had meetings on that yesterday too.
Remind people in broad strokes what the vision for that property is.
The vision is to put retail shops and residential units and a public plaza so that we will really have a center of downtown. And if you've been to Asheville and you look at Pack Park, I mean, that's what the goal would be, to do that. And some people have the vision that it would be great if it streamed all the way from here and all the way to Anderson University and it was connected. Which brings me up to another thing. They're still getting the right-of-way for the completion of the East-West Parkway.
That's quite a trail.
That is quite a trail, and they are in the right-of-way acquisition stage right now. But as you know, it will go from 81 near the hospital.
Yeah, but it comes in the back of the Y where the pond is, the gravel trail, the back there, out to McConnell Springs Road, Harriet Circle, all the way.
And then go all the way to the Civic Center. And that will be awesome. Which mean to tell you we're in the design process. We have the East-West Park, Well, we have this part finished and this part finished. Now we're going to infill the middle, and we're going to put a bathroom there, because that's one of the big requests we have. That's a great trail. Certainly would be nice if we had a restroom there and some play equipment. So Councilman Wooten's working diligently on that.
It's also bringing sidewalks for some of the elementary schools to walk.
Absolutely.
As part of the.
Absolutely, which is another project the county just completed, is on Jackson Street, putting a sidewalk in over there so people get back and forth to Westside High School. That project only took us 5 years to do, and that's a mix of county money and state money. So that is being worked on and should be almost completed, but we still have some more stuff to do over there.
Paul's is continually close to being a no-kill shelter and continues to be a model for other shelters. Talk a little bit about why it's taken council support and money and leadership to make this possible, and how people can help the Paul's continue to do what they do.
Well, they can donate. Council generously supports our animal shelter. Last month, we received $8,000 in donations. We need to complete our dog park, which will be more than a dog park at the shelter. It will also be walking trails for human beings and a place to have picnics and birthday parties and things like that. But council supports that animal shelter. And sometimes people say, well, y'all sure do a lot to help Pickens and Abbeville and Greenwood and these other animal shelters, and y'all provide a lot of expertise and assistance. Well, here's one of the things. When Abbeville didn't have a shelter, you might know that a lot of those animals ended up here, and you say, well, you could have checked their driver's license. Yeah, well, that's easier said than done. And then also, if you kind of live on that line. So the better Abbeville does, the better for Anderson County, the better Greenwood does, the better Pickens does. And so our staff, we've literally gone out there and say, this is how you do it. And our shelter has received national awards and has received state awards, and our staff is in heavy demand to come do, how do you do this? How do you do this? And so we're just pleased as punch about that. But the proof's in the pudding. But also remember, in addition to PAWS, the County Council supports the Humane Society of Anderson County with $75,000 a year to allow them to do free or low-cost spay and neuter. So if you want to talk about some county that's in the forefront of animal care and protection, it's Anderson County. And I also have to say that our animal control officers are really doing a fine job, and it's the attitude of doing it humanely and in the right way. They're being trained in ways to catch animals. It's not the old days of the dog catcher running around there and doing what he used to do. So on all those fronts, it's going well. And we also support other groups that do animal welfare work. So we support them with money or assistance or other things like that. So, you know.
And the leadership it seems like all around you're talking about really do love the animals. I mean, Dr. Kim Davis and people out there really.
Well, everybody who works out there is an animal lover, a fanatical animal lover.
She's got quite a few now dogs.
Yeah, she has a bunch of dogs and horses of her own.
Yeah.
But just about everybody who works out there has taken somebody they just couldn't live without out there. And so that's going wonderful as always.
One other thing people may have noticed, there's been a lot of upgrading and expansion of the county's convenience and recycling centers. Remind people again why that's such an important part of what we do here.
Well, Anderson County is blessed to have Greg Smith as the director of our solid waste, landfills, and everything else. But upgrading those convenience centers, we try to keep as much trash as we can out of the landfill, because landfill space costs a tremendous amount of money. And so all of our recycling efforts, we sell those products, and that money goes to sustain our solid waste and recycling efforts. If you noticed an article in a local paper recently, Greenville doesn't accept glass anymore. Anderson County still accepts glass. And we still do a lot of things that other people don't do, because we use inmate labor to help us sort those materials. And so some people sometimes say, well, I wish they'd bring the chain gang back. No, you don't. I was here when the chain gang was here. But inmates, trustees who've earned trustee status work in those areas and save Anderson County taxpayers thousands of dollars. And that's a credit to the sheriff and Major Bill Vaughn and the efforts he runs at the detention center. So, I mean, it's just a great situation. And speaking of the detention center, they've increased mental health counseling out there, which has been tremendous. Our criminal justice effort is still working with the public defender, the solicitor, and all the agencies involved to streamline the process. Maybe you don't need to stay in jail a year for stealing a pencil. Maybe it would be cheaper for the taxpayers if we did something quicker than feed you for a year. It's just a whole lot of that stuff going on. Another thing that we're very, very excited about, back in the day, Anderson County had feeding stations. Not Anderson County, but an organization had areas where elderly people and senior citizens go to meet and have meals. And we have restarted that process. We have a program at St. Paul's here in Anderson. We have one in Honeypath. We have one in Iva. We have one in Belton. We have the Caroline Center in Williamston. And we're looking to expand in the Pendleton area with some meetings. And so we're trying to expand that effort.
And that's in partnership with groups already doing stuff.
It wouldn't be possible if we weren't partnering with Meals on Wheels. They're making it all possible. We're working to provide the money through a federal grant that wasn't being accessed. And so now those people are able to access those areas. And in addition to getting fed, they also have activities for them to do and socialization, which keeps them healthier and happier and out of hospitals and nursing homes and things like that. But that's one of the things the county does. And people, they say, well, we didn't know that. Well, yeah, we do that too.
Backpedaling a little bit, the detention center, the study's still going on about replacing the detention center?
Yeah, there are talks on that just about every week. Because there's so many things that we could do to prevent people from coming back to prison if we just had a little more room to help them. But again, one of the prime motivations, and a lot of people say, well, they're in prison, I don't care what happens to them. Yeah, well, here's another thing. We have a whole lot of very fine detention officers who work there, and they need to be working in safe, secure place for them to work in order for them to do their job.
And another element of law enforcement that people don't think about a lot of times is the emergency preparedness. I know, like right now, Lieutenant Baker's keeping an eye on storms, and of course, this winter it'll be ice storms and stuff.
There will be a briefing today. Lieutenant David Baker is probably one of the greatest assets Anderson County has. He does a fantastic job with emergency preparedness, and again, he keeps all the county personnel and everybody else aware of what's going on. We know about if there's a raindrop in Nicaragua, David usually sends out a memo that there's a raindrop in Nicaragua, and it may hit in a month. But we have a briefing today, but he does a wonderful job, but he also does a wonderful job working with all of the towns and all of the organizations, keeping them up. Hazmat's a big thing we do. If there's a chemical spill in the county, we assist them hazmat team with that kind of operation. If something happens on Lake Hartwell, we're out there. And we just hired a new assistant emergency director, Josh Hawkins, who most everybody knows as Shaggy, who usually can be found hanging off the side of a bridge when it's 0 degrees, or climbing a tower because the tower doesn't work. So maybe David Baker can get one day off, but
I just think most people don't realize that's part of the sheriff's department too.
It's part of the sheriff's department, but it's kind of like a cross between sheriff and county. But our relations with the sheriff's department is just hand in glove. We work as a team. That's all you do around here, is work as a team.
You mentioned earlier sewer stuff going on all over. I know it is. What is there anything updates on the cooperative effort with Pendleton and Clemson up at
yes,
we've
signed a memorandum of agreement with the city of Clemson, Anderson County, and the town of Pendleton to expand the Pendleton wastewater treatment plant, so we don't have to go find another site for a wastewater treatment plant. It will help the city of Clemson, it will help Pendleton, it will help Anderson County, it will reduce our cost going in to do that. And the fewer wastewater treatment plants you have, the better off you are. And still, one of the big benefits of that is we want to close all of those old, decrepit wastewater treatment plants flowing into Lake Hartwell right now. Talking about Lake Hartwell, some really exciting stuff going on Lake Hartwell. Probably about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, there were people running around saying, we need to do this, we need to build a resort, we need to do this. That is coming, and that is coming with a vengeance about people who have done this in other areas wanting to come to Lake Hartwell. We've already had some meetings with some developers and with the Corps of Engineers about some exciting things that can happen on Lake Hartwell. Because, and I know I repeat myself, but again, if Lake Hartwell was a national park, it would be in the top 10 most visited parks in the United States of America. And people are coming to it, and they're flocking to it. And the county's efforts, starting with Green Pond, to give it a regional and national presence, I think those are paying off. And we've already had one private company said, we'll take over Green Pond. And I said, well, that's all right. I think we'll finish that. We like to be able to pick and choose which tournaments go out there. So a lot of stuff going on Lake Hartwell.
Any big announcements coming in the next few weeks?
Probably in 2 or 3 weeks we will have, well, probably a little bit later than that because we're just going through the ordinance process right now. But there's some big ones on the horizon. And, you know, back in the old days, we'd announce 20 new jobs and it would be a big thing. And now we're getting so passé, if it's not, you know, if it's not 300 or 400, we just go, oh, that's just another day. I don't feel that way, but some people do.
And opening up the exits 11 and 14 for development are going to just continue.
That's going to continue that growth. And again, that's important because we don't want growth all over the beautiful parts of Anderson County. We like our farmland. We have a rich farm and rural tradition here. So let's strip it up and down the interstate, keep it all clustered up there, and we'll be free to wander around the rest of this beautiful county.